Hello, my name is Denise Eide, author of Uncovering the Logic of English. Today we're going to talk about developing fluency in struggling readers. This is in response to a question a parent asked on our Facebook page in regards to a 10-year-old student who is struggling with reading words fluently despite knowing all the phonograms. In this situation, I suggest beginning by having students blend words auditorily. Take away the print and have them practice the skill without a book in front of them. The way that this is best done is to give the student a word such as cat and unglue it, k, at, and then have the student glue it back together into cat. Then you can have them take a word such as jump, j, p, and glue it back together, jump. You can begin with one-syllable words, then move to 2, 3, and 4-syllable words to increase the difficulty. I had a parent recently approach me at a convention and say that their student, who was 12 years old, was really stuck on reading until he did the fluency activities at the beginning of Uncovering the Logic of English, where he practiced gluing and ungluing words. And after a week of these activities, he began to read chapter books because he already knew all the phonograms. But somehow this skill was very difficult for him, and practicing it in isolation made all of the difference. After practicing gluing and ungluing words, it's best to move on to spelling dictation. You can learn more about spelling dictation on the spelling dictation video on YouTube, on the Logic of English YouTube channel. In spelling dictation, students get multiple attempts or in practice gluing and ungluing words and practicing to read the words. This is a great way to develop fluency and to practice individual words. Once students have practiced those words with spelling dictation, you can then move to having them read word lists. Now, you don't want to spend a lot of time here, but word lists are great because the student doesn't need to be focused so much on comprehension, but can practice reading high-frequency words and sounding them out and then becoming faster and faster at those words. Once they've mastered the words, they can then move on to phrases and short sentences. When you are teaching sentences and phrases, I recommend doing two things. First of all, practice dictation. Have the student listen to a phrase and then write it down and then read it back to you. In this way, they're having to unglue and glue it back together and are getting multiple attempts at that phrase. When you move to sentences, it's really important to teach the meaning of the punctuation explicitly. Some students struggle with reading because they fluently because they don't really know what the punctuation and all of the marks on the page mean, and then they begin to stumble over them. So be sure to teach students that when they see a comma, they're to pause. When they see quotation marks, it means that someone is speaking. And when they practice reading sentences, then you can practice proper intonation and have them read the same sentence multiple times to practice the fluency and how to read that sentence well. After you've practiced words, then phrases, and then sentences, you can move on to books. Too often we practice fluency by confusing it with reading comprehension and asking students to read paragraphs and to read books all at the same time. But once they have the foundational skills, you can move into books and you can choose a page or a paragraph and ask them to read it 2 or even 3 times aloud, improving their fluency with each attempt. In this way, you provide a strong foundation and begin to build the student for fluent reading skills, rather than expecting them to jump into it without any prior practice.